as with all my Christmas recipes, they seem to come from this book by Delia Smith. It is out of print, but there are quite a lot of copies around, so if you can find a used one on Amazon or in a second-hand shop, a charity shop, I suggest you get it. What we're going to do today, of course, is a classic Christmas pudding, and I recommend that you print the, if you don't get the book, you at least print the list of ingredients out, because as you can see, it's quite an extensive list, but don't let that put you off. Give it a try. This is a luxurious Christmas pudding. There are no shortcuts to this. You really do have to roll your sleeves up and get stuck in. As you can see, I make notes as I go along, so we'll have a quick review of the ingredients we have got, maybe the ones that are a little bit unusual, and then also one or two of the notes that I've made over the years as I've been making it. So the key ingredient that maybe you don't get if you're watching this maybe somewhere else in the world other than in England and in Britain is shredded suet. I think this is an English or a British speciality. You can buy it in the US on Amazon. It's not cheap, and there are vegetarian versions as well. The vegetable one comes in a green. Instead of blue, it's green. So you can make this a vegetarian option if you wish, and there are alternatives. If you look online, they give you some suggestions, but a real British pudding comes with this Atora shredded suet. In addition to that, you're going to need some rum and some stout. The original recipe calls for barley wine. I can't get barley wine in the US, so I'm just going to add a little bit more stout, a little bit more rum. One thing I did look at my notes, and the comments I've made in previous years is it always takes more than what Delia recommends liquid wise. You know, you want this to be quite a loose, quite a sloppy pudding before you steam it, and I always seem to add more. So I think overall Delia calls for around about 100 ml. I end up putting around 300-400 ml in. So I don't know why that is, but that's the case. So we'll take note of that as we go along, and we'll see how much I actually do put in there. And in addition to that, everything else is fairly readily available. Delia calls for raisins, sultanas and currants. I don't like currants, so I don't use them, so I add extra sultanas and extra raisins, but I will put the original recipe down so you can follow Delia's exactly. I like cherries. Delia doesn't tell you to put cherries in, but I like cherries, so I'm putting a few cherries in, so they're completely optional. The candied peel, again, you can buy this ready-made or you can make your own. I made this last week. There is a video for that. I'll put a link in the description so you can see how to make candied peel, or you can buy your own. You only need 1 ounce, so I wouldn't say it's optional, because it really does add a certain amount of flavour to the pudding, but it's not optional, so you do really need to either buy some or make some. And then in addition to that, it's quite simple. You just need to mix all your ingredients together, and then the tricky part is when you come to steam it, but we'll take a look at that as we go along. You will need a pudding basin. It calls for a 2-pound pudding basin. This is a 1 kilogram pudding basin, so that's 2 pounds. But if like me, there are only 2 of you in the house that's going to eat it, you might want to get a couple of smaller pudding basins and make 2 smaller ones rather than 1 big one, because that's a healthy pudding for a large family. It's very rich, and after Christmas dinner, you're not going to be wanting to eat half a pound of a Christmas pudding, believe me. So maybe look at getting some smaller ones, or if you fancy, you can make a big one, and it reheats nice. It saves well in the fridge, so you can save it in there. I bought these online in the US. The prices on Amazon were ridiculous. I found an online store that gave free delivery if you spend over $50. So I got a couple of small ones and a couple of large ones, and I ended up getting free delivery. So you can do a bit of a search, but you do need a pudding basin, and you'll see why when we come to steam it, because we need to cover it with foil and baking paper, but we need to tie it with string round here. So you need this lip, this groove to hold the string. If you try to do it in a normal Pyrex dish, it just slips off. So okay, so I think that's enough jibber jabber from me. What we'll do is we'll get started, and you'll see how we mix this pudding together. And what I would say, that's of course that's I'm glad I remembered. I'm making this in September. That's a little bit too early, to be honest, but I'm making it so I've got time to. I'm making it in September, so I've got time to edit the video and upload it, and then you've got a chance to get all the ingredients together and get your pudding basins. You want to make this, your puddings, round about 4 to 8 weeks out from Christmas. So, you know, really end of October is probably fine. Maybe let's get Halloween out of the way, and then we probably really want to start making them. So that's the first thing on timing on when to actually make your puddings. And you actually need to start to make your puddings the day before you're going to steam them. So you need to mix all your pudding mixture together, and then you leave it overnight for all the fruit to sort of rehydrate and soak up there. Okay, like I said, enough jibber jabber. We'll look at the ingredients as we go along, and you'll see that it's not as scary as what it looks with all this food here. This is quite a large pudding, so you're going to need a good sized mixing bowl. And as I say, it's quite simple. So the first thing we do is we put our shredded suet in, and we have got 4 ounces of shredded suet. We have then got 2 ounces of self-raising flour, but I've got my sugar in here as well, so you've got 2 ounces of self-raising flour and 8 ounces of dark brown sugar. So all that goes in. Then got 4 ounces of breadcrumbs. So this is literally just bread that's been in the food processor and blended until it's chopped until it's fine like this. So you need 4 ounces of those. You can use white breadcrumbs or brown breadcrumbs, don't really make much difference. And then we've got some mixed spice, grated nutmeg and cinnamon. And again, all the quantities will be in the recipe. And we give this a stir, get this well combined. Break any lumps like they've got here, just give them a good mix, make sure there's no large lumps. So now we want to put our dried fruit in. So what Delia asks for is 4 ounces of sultanas, 4 ounces of raisins and 10 ounces of currants. I don't like currants, so I'm not putting them in, so I use 9 ounces of sultanas and 9 ounces of raisins. Take your time doing this because you don't want to make sure that they're all separated. You don't want big lumps of fruit stuck together. Then we've got 1 ounce of the mixed peel, chopped peel, 1 ounce of chopped almonds, and then this is entirely optional, but I've got around about 3 ounces of cherries. Delia doesn't tell you to put cherries in, but I like them. Next thing that's going to go in is your cooking apple, which has been peeled, cored and chopped. Cooking apples in the US, in the UK they're generally a Bramley apple. In the US I can't get Bramleys, so I use Granny Smiths. As long as it's a nice tart apple, you'll be okay. Next we're going to grate the zest of half a large lemon and half a large orange. So once you've got your zest of your lemon and orange and your apple in there, well, not the zest of your apple but your chopped apple in there, give it another mix. Make sure everything's well combined because we're going to start adding liquid next. And we don't want any large lumps of anything. You know, we don't want any sultanas or suet stuck together. We want everything well combined. Okay, that is ready for us to start adding liquid. So this is the bit of the recipe where I differ a little bit from Delia because it just doesn't seem to work. So I'm going to put on what Delia recommends. I'm going to put that on the screen or in the recipe, but I'm going to talk you through what I actually end up putting in because it's going to be more than what the recipe calls for. Right, so we're going to put the liquid in now, which is going to bind all this together. So what Delia says to put in are 2 eggs, 2 large eggs, which we've got, and I've whisked those together here. And then 75 millilitres or 2.5 fluid ounces of barley wine. I can't get barley wine, so I'm going to use Guinness. And she calls for 75 millilitres of stout Guinness, which is in here. Which is another 2.5 fluid ounces, and then 2 tablespoons of rum. Okay, that's just not going to work in my opinion. So what I've actually got, if we can see on here, we've got 200 millilitres of stout Guinness and 200 millilitres of rum to make 400 in total. And what Delia suggests is you put everything together and mix it all in. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to risk not getting enough egg in there and having too much liquid. So I'm going to put my egg on first. And then I'm just going to add probably 1/3 of this and give it a mix, see what we get. Well, I guess this is the one year where it looks like the recipe is working. I have put 150 in, which is round about right, and then just put a drop more of the liquid in. And this is what we should be looking like. We should be looking like it's fairly loose and sloppy, certainly not stodgy. It's I would say, yeah, but I've got around about 150 millilitres in there, which is what Delia suggests. So this year it's worked, and that's cooking sometimes for no apparent reason. But I would say that is ready to go. So what we do now is we cover this with cling film. So that's the mixture wrapped up, ready. I'm going to leave that out on the side. It doesn't need to go in the fridge because we're going to steam this for a long time tomorrow, so we don't want to be starting from a cold situation. We want to be starting from room temperature. So I don't think that was too difficult. As I say, the liquid tricked me this time. I made notes before that I needed a little bit more. I'll make some notes this time that I needed a little bit less, or actually needed what the recipe called for. So yeah. Okay, so it's fairly early the next morning, and we're going to steam our puddings today. But before we can do that, we have to prepare the pudding basins. I've got 2 pudding bowls I'm going to fill. I've got one that's less than a pint and one that's a little bit less than 2 pints. So I think I've got enough mixture for both of these. I'm going to grease the insides of these with butter, but then I'm going to put the pudding mixture into there and pack it fairly tight. But it doesn't want to come all the way to the top. Maybe you want to leave a 1/4 of an inch around the edge. We'll see how much we get when we start filling it. And then we cover the top with parchment paper, 2 sheets, 2 layers. And then over the top of the parchment paper we put some foil, and then we tie all that up together with some string. It is nice if you've got a helping hand for this bit to put the finger on it so we don't lose the knot. All my helping hands have gone out for today, so I'm going to have a go myself. We'll see how we get on. Okay, so let's get the basins buttered and the mixture in. I'll just take a little bit of the parchment paper, give a knob of butter a good rub round. Now for the fun bit, we get to take the top off the covering off the pudding and smell what that's like. Okay, so this is the pudding mixture the next morning. You see we've thickened up a little bit, give it a little stir and just check it, make sure it's not gone too stodgy. Because if it has, we can always add just a little bit more mixture. I think that looks about okay. It's not gone dry. It's still falling off the spoon. Yeah, I think that's good. We'll take our largest bowl first. There's no gaps, no air pockets in there. That's my kettle boiling, ready for the steaming. There we go, we got the large basin and 2 small ones full. So now we're ready to put 2 layers of parchment paper and 1 layer of foil, and then we can steam them. Yeah, so that second one went on a little bit better. Maybe that's the clue with the trick. If you're on your own, carefully just trim the excess off. Don't need all that getting soaked in the water. There we go. One pudding ready to go in the steamer. And this needs to be steamed for 8 hours. Now I'm going to show two options. First one we're going to look at is to do it in a slow cooker. I don't have a steamer. Okay, so the first option is to do it, or my first option is to do it in a slow cooker. That's what I'm going to do with this one. And I'm going to do these two in a pressure cooker. So that makes it a little bit quicker. Pressure cooker is a little bit cheating. It's not the correct way to do it, but it works okay. So let's get this into the slow cooker and we'll show you how we do that. Right, so I've got our crock pot or slow cooker. I've got it set to high. I've put a pie mould in the bottom just to lift the basin off the floor. You can put something similar in, or you might want to have one that's already got a trivet in. Then put your pudding in, and then we'll get this water back up to boiling again. You want to get a pan of boiling water or a kettle, and just put water in just till it gets to the bottom of the pudding basin. Okay, so that is our steam generator. The lid goes on. And I'm going to seal around the edges with some foil, and that's on for 8 hours. So it's 9 o'clock now, so that's going to be 5 o'clock tonight. Right, so I've put an edge of foil sort of wrapped inside the lid and over the top to create a seal. I'm then going to put a tea towel over it just to help get that going. One thing I will just point out, and you maybe already know, but I've just found out, this edge on your crock pot or your slow cooker gets very hot. So I've just burnt my finger, so that's a lesson learned. It is possible to use your pressure cooker, or in this case an instant pot. Just make sure you've got your trivet in there and some warm water already in there. It just speeds things up a little bit. And as you can see, there is a steam setting on my Instant Pot, so we're going to use that. And for the small pudding basins or small puddings, I'm going to use 3 hours. If I was going to do the larger one in there, I would probably do it for 4 hours, which is half the time that you would steam traditionally. So I've set that to 3 hours, and you just literally just press start and away she goes. So once you've finished steaming, you want to let your puddings cool down. I left mine overnight, and the next day, or when they are cool, you want to remove the wrappings that we put on before we steamed, and basically just replace them. You don't have to use double parchment paper, but what I use is I use a single parchment paper and foil, tie it all up with string again, and as you can see in there, that looks fabulous. I'm really pleased with the way they've turned out this year. And I know I've made them a little bit early, but trust me, they are going to taste fabulous on Christmas Day. If you've had a pre-bought pudding in the past, these are going to blow your mind compared to that. So I bought this pudding basin online, and it was supposed to come with a lid that seals. As you can see, I can't put parchment paper on and the lid. It's coming off. So I'm going to have to just reseal these with parchment paper and foil. So there we go. These are the finished puddings wrapped and ready to be stored. Traditionally you would keep them under the bed in a cold bedroom. If you've not got that option, so somewhere cool and dark is fine. You could keep them in the fridge if you wanted, but it's not really necessary. So I'm just going to put mine in a box and put them in the basement, and they'll be good until Christmas Day. To reheat these on Christmas Day, what we would traditionally do, what Delia tells you to do, is to steam them, which, as we've just seen from actually steaming the puddings the first time, takes a long time, and you would want to steam even the small ones for maybe 2 hours, the larger ones probably for 3 hours. I don't know about you, but if you've been cooking Christmas dinner and you've maybe had a sherry or 3 too many, the last thing I want to be doing is worrying about steaming some puddings and making sure they're warm. So what I do is I turn to the microwave. Delia doesn't like it. She says it's not the correct way to do it, and she's right, but it is so much easier. 2 to 3 minutes for one of these small ones is all you're going to need, maybe 5 minutes for the large one. Keep an eye on it, don't overdo it. They need to be warm, they're already cooked, they only need to be reheated. Once they are reheated, what we do is we serve them with either brandy butter or a rum sauce. I'm going to put the links to Delia's website in the description so you can see her recipes for that. I don't do that. I go much easier. I get some heavy cream or some double cream. I start to whip it until it starts to thicken. I put 2 to 3 tablespoons of whiskey in there, mix it up, serve it like that, and for me that is delicious. So however you're going to reheat them, or however you're going to serve them, give them a go. If you've had shop bought puddings before, these are going to blow your mind. They're on a different scale. They are absolutely fabulous, and you will really enjoy it, and you'll see that it's worth the effort, and you'll never go back to shop bought puddings again. I know it's a little bit early because it's only September, but I'm going to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Leave me some comments, let me know how you get on, and as I say, give them a go and let's get going.